Oh boy, where have I been? Wow. First of all, I want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast or watching it if you're on YouTube. I don't think it's going to be that long of a podcast today. Um, and to be honest, this is my first one back. When I release this will be on the same day to a year. I'm saying that all wrong. It'll be a year to the day on the day that I release this. So I think last year, 2023, speaking, my last podcast on Spotify was January 22nd. And here we are a full year later, January 22nd and 24. I mean, it's been a whole year. Crazy. A lot of ups and downs. Honestly, it's been a lot of downs, if I'm going to be real. I'm going to take an opportunity to treat this podcast almost like a therapeutic type of deal for me. You see a lot of podcasts out there. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. It's funny. And this podcast will be like that too. But I feel like I need to address where have I been for the past year? Because I haven't been uploading podcasts. And I remember going into 23, it was a goal. It was my number one goal. In the start of 2023, I made it a goal. I said it out loud. I told everybody around me that in this year of 2023, I'm going to grow this podcast. I'm going to post a lot more on the social medias. I'm going to post a lot more every week of the actual podcasts. I was going to upload a bunch of videos to YouTube, and it didn't happen, and I feel like crap about it, and I'm not happy about it. But you know what? I feel like I got to be real with everyone. I've dealt with some stuff this year, man. It hasn't been last year. It hasn't been a good year. It wasn't a good year. I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on it. At least I'm not going to plan to, but I've had friends, I've had family, I've had, at the time, coworkers ask me when I'm going to start it up again, and why I haven't posted any videos or recorded any podcasts. And so I guess I'm just gonna lay it out there, man. I'm gonna be real on this podcast. I'm not gonna be fake about anything. For a while, I wanted this podcast to be perfect. I wanted everything to sound crisp. I wanted it to look amazing. I still do, but I need to learn to just go with it, because 23 was bad. 2023, it was bad, man. I to be honest with you guys, I'm just going to be real, right? Like I said, I was unemployed a couple of times throughout that year. And it's not uncommon for people to be unemployed. But when I was unemployed, it's sort of like everything hit me at once, not even talking just finance wise. Eventually I started getting thin on money. I don't think I've had a really good relationship with money ever since I graduated high school and became like a functioning adult. I lived with my parents for a while until I finally moved out. Mind you, I didn't move out on my own. In a relationship, I moved in with my then girlfriend, who is now more than just my girlfriend. I'm going to get back to that in a few. So it's never been a good situation for me with money. As far as me being able to be okay if something happened, like an emergency or a big health thing or something I needed a big chunk of money for. I've always paid my stuff on time. I've always, but it's been hard. It gets harder to save money, I feel like, especially when you're in a hole, because that's sort of what happened to me in 23 when I was unemployed a couple times. And it was like unemployed early in the year. And I did jump from a job to a job to a job because, I'm at I guess I'm in the phase of my life now where, if something's not working for me or if I'm not happy somewhere, I need to change it right away instead of just sitting there and taking it. And for a while, I did that. For a while, I would just be miserable where I'm at, and I would just sit there, and I don't want to live life like that. I always tell Tahira, my the person I'm with. Let me just knock that out now because she's going to be involved in a lot of these stories. Recently, over the ups and downs of last year, one of the ups, and it came very end of the year, was I proposed to my girlfriend. So we are engaged now. A lot of you might know that because I've posted it on Facebook. But there are some people who aren't on social media, at least with me, or people who don't know me personally but follow the channel and yeah. So I'm engaged, and I couldn't have been with a better person, honestly, because her name's Tahira. A lot of people call her T. I call her T a lot. It's hard for a lot of people to pronounce her name for some reason. I don't know. When my parents first met her, my dad and my stepmom, they could not pronounce Tahira to save their lives, and sometimes they still can't. They used to call her like Tiara. Anyway, yeah. So, I forgot where I was going with the whole unemployed thing. It happened at the beginning of the year. I went from job to job to job, and then in the midst of all that stuff, money got thin. I've had to ask for help, and I'm a pretty private person. I don't really go out there and tell people my business, but for this podcast, some of the stuff I'm going to do is I'm going to just lay stuff out there. If I'm going to treat this as almost as like a therapy type deal for me, then I'm just going to lay some stuff out there because, T has mentioned to me several times, maybe I should go see a therapist or something. And I'm just one of those people that, I don't want to talk bad about it because I know people who go to therapy. I know people like therapy. I'm just not one of those people. I feel like that, especially me being so private. I don't really want to go tell someone my problems, and pay them to tell me what I should do wrong or differently or how to change some things. And I understand that's kind of null if I'm out here posting it to social media or Spotify or wherever or YouTube or whatever, and thousands of people could watch this potentially or listen to this as opposed to just telling one person. But there's something I learned last year during all my problems. It's and this applies to my job situation because let me just take you back a few here. I moved to North Carolina in 2009. I'm from Massachusetts. So I moved here in 2009, and I didn't go to school right away, meaning like college, because I graduated high school back in my hometown, and I didn't further my education after that right away. I ended up getting into school, which is a broadcasting school, here in North Carolina in 2014. I was 24. So that's a good 6 years after I graduated before I even attempted to go back to school for something. Because several reasons. One of them was because I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I didn't want to be one of those people that just go to school and pay and not know what they want to be, but they're in school. I just wasn't like that. Plus, I was in that kind of mind frame where I was like, I went to school for all these years. I just want to enjoy what not being in school is for an adult. And it was fine, but at the same time, like life changes, life evolves, and the world evolves, and the society evolves, and you just, you can't make a living off of what you could make a living off of, 10 years ago and 10 years before that, and like it's just you learn these things. I guess I learned the hard way in some stuff, so I can be pretty stubborn. So yeah, out of high school, I moved here. Didn't go to school right away, and I'm not trying to bore anybody with with any of this. So if you're listening still to this point, I appreciate it. If not, this might be just for me. This might be for me just to put it out there, get my thoughts out there, finally vent, So yeah, I ended up signing up for school here, broadcasting school, because it took me so long to figure out what I even want to do. I didn't want to be a doctor, firefighter, policeman, dentist. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional baseball player or a professional wrestler when I was growing up. And I ended up fracturing my spine when I was 17 years old. And that kind of put an end to either one of those dreams happening. So I had to figure out a different solution. It took me a good 6 years before I realized, you know what, maybe I should go to school for broadcasting so that somehow I can end up in the world of sports, working in a field that I love, working with a sport that I love. If I can't play professional baseball, or if I can't be a professional wrestler, I at least can do something within the field. A sideline reporter, a color commentator, play-by-play guy, something, something. I ended up getting a job out here, a few jobs in broadcasting. My problem is none of these jobs have ever been a permanent, make a career out of it kind of job. It's all been foot in the door. And when you get your foot in the door, it didn't really lead to anything else. No matter how hard you worked, no matter how good you were. I've worked for a news station, TV news station. I used to get up at fucking 3 a.m. to get to this news station, to start my shift at 4. And 4 a.m. 4 a.m. to do until 9 o'clock in the morning. And then from there, because that was only part-time and it didn't pay well, from there, I would go to a second job from 9:30 to about 3:30, 4 o'clock. And then from there, I'd come home, shower really fast. And then in the summer, I would go straight from that first job to the second job, home to shower. And then from that, I would go to my third job, which was a baseball job at night. So I finally had a job in broadcasting that I really wanted to be, a baseball type of job. At first I was working cameras, and then eventually, within a couple of months, I ended up moving up into the booth where we do, you could be a director, you can work on the soundboard, you can work on the video board people see when they're in the stadium, you can, do music, replay, stuff like that. And I'm still doing that, to be honest. I'm still working that one. It's been 3 years now I'm at this place. It'll be my 4th coming up. And the first year that I ended up getting that job was when COVID really first started to hit. So early 2020, we were going to get ready to do our first season, my first season. And that's when COVID really got bad, and it's like it canceled the whole season. So I went from being really happy to really low. Since then, that job is probably the only broadcasting job I've held on to. I've had a couple other ones, here and there. Nothing panned out. I've actually lost a pretty cool friendship with somebody because they helped me get a job at a TV news station, and it just didn't work for me. It just didn't. To be honest, I hate the news to begin with. I hate the news. I hate the news. I never have liked it. I don't watch the news. I understand there's crappy things going on in the world. I just don't watch. I don't want to watch. I don't find it enjoyable. Yeah, I like to be informative. I like to know, but to sit there, I know people who just sit there and watch the news all day. I can't do it. So, and to work the news, you got to be a certain kind of strong for that, man. I was at that news job, the first one where I had to get up and be there at 4 and work until 9. I was there for about a year and a half, and several reasons why I left. One is being the person who was immediately above me. Couldn't stand him. I'm not going to name drop, even though people who I'm friends with on social media or who I worked with there know who I'm talking about. There's no need to even throw it out there. But it's not even leaving or quitting because of a pettiness type thing. I could not be in the same workspace as this other person. It just never was going to work. I found myself getting more and more angry, on top of the fact that I have to get up stupid early and work a job for those kind of hours with no career advancement and for getting paid that little. It's just, at some point, I just got fed up and I'm just out of here. So it hasn't worked since then. Nothing has worked. And so now I'm struggling because flashing forward from that point until last year. Last year, when I say I went through job to job to job, it has not. These jobs had nothing to do with broadcasting. I've worked several jobs: social media, logistics, some document scanning play. I mean, it's all random stuff, And for some reason, I haven't had any luck with anything. And I'm still now at this point trying to find a different career because broadcasting just hasn't worked. And it's one of those things where they said, it's all about networking, who you know. I tried that. I still try that to this day. And I have made connections. And I have met people who are in the industry, who are great people, who I do consider most of them friends. But it still hasn't panned out. Nothing has happened for me. So I got to find something else. And what really made me think about that was when I was listening to a Mel Robbins podcast. I'm not too sure if a lot of people, anyone really knows, but she's very famous, so I'm sure a lot of you know. But she does have like an inspirational, motivational type of podcast for the most part. I don't listen often, but it was one random episode that I just so happened to listen to where, and I hope I'm giving credit to the right place. I'm pretty sure I heard it from her podcast. I want to get it right. What she said. She said something about it was your plan. Sometimes your plan is not your path. And that really hit me because my plan all along is to do broadcasting. My plan all along is to be in sports. What if that's not my path? What if that's not what I'm supposed to be doing? That's why I'm looking for something else. And I'm still searching. So, yeah, I'm not going to pretend like everything's all happy. I'm going through, and I have gone through a lot of depression, stress, and I feel bad for Tahira because she sees me in my lowest form. I'm grateful as hell for that girl, but she sees me in some bad spots. There's times where we're going out, just walking out to the car or something, and without knowing it, my head's just down. And she tells me, hey, sometimes she'll catch it. She'll be like, hey, pick your head up. And it's and I don't notice it in the moment until she says it. And I'm like, damn, am I just walking around like this? I'm just so depressed and stressed, and I'm not going to pretend like these things don't happen. I'm not going to pretend like everything's beautiful in the world. And, what you see on social media is all happiness. Nobody ever posts the shit. Nobody ever posts the struggle. I'm telling you guys, I've been struggling the past year. It took everything within me to do this podcast today. And that's me after coming home from work from a job I don't like. I'm at a job right now that I don't like. I'm getting paid okay. I'm getting paid pretty good, actually. But getting paid what I'm getting paid, although it's pretty good, it's still not what I want for my life, for my future. And I'm going to change it. I have to change it. There's got to be something that gives, I'm not one of these people that just want to settle for anything in life, jobs or anything else. And me settling for a job, I never wanted to do a 9-to-5, and a lot of people just accept it. And I have this conversation with T off, and I'm like, hey, somewhere down the line, someone convinced us that that's normal. Somewhere down the line, someone convinced us the 9-to-5 is what you have to do. Why is it? Why do we have to do that? Why? There's other countries, there's other states, there's other places that don't do 9-to-5. That's not the norm. For us, for some reason, it's normal. And they make songs about it. Working 9-to-5. It's just a normalized thing. And that's not something I want. I don't want to do 9-to-5. The only way I'll do 9-to-5 is if it's something I'm absolutely in love with. If it's not something I have a complete passion for, why am I wasting my time with it? And that's kind of how I'm treating everything. I'm in my 30s now, Now I got to think about paying for a wedding. I got to think about paying for a honeymoon. I got to think about paying off the ring that I got her. I got to think about kids eventually are going to be in the picture, It's so much to prep for. And it blows my mind that how some people can just do it. First of all, I don't know how some people can even do it. All of it. Life. It's expensive. And it gets worse as far as financial wise. And you throw in kids in the mix. And I've had this argument with T before. I say, hey, I can't even support myself. How am I going to support a kid? I will not bring a kid into this world. I'm telling everybody. I tell her all the time. I will not bring a kid into this world just so that kid can suffer. That's not fair to the kid. I can't do that. I need to make sure that I'm okay. I need to make sure that I'm okay financially. I need to make sure I'm okay mentally to support this. Because it's not just like when the kid turns 18, that's it, they're gone. No. I was with my parents. I lived with my parents. I lived with my dad until 30. Who's to say my kid won't do the same? The goal is to obviously set your kid up so that they can be good, to be on their own, right? Financially, everything. That's not how it always works out. Somewhere people are lying to us. And this is not a conspiracy thing. It's just, I've just had a lot of deep thinking recently, I always think deeply. I'm a very deep thinker. I'm a very observant person. Sometimes, even when me and T watch movies or shows, I'll pick something out and be like, oh, yeah, but that doesn't make sense because how did this happen? And it's like, you have to be reminded, it's just a show or it's just a movie. I get it. Yeah. I don't do it to the point where it spoils or ruins anything. It's just, sometimes I pick it out. But, it's just hasn't been easy. And then over the last year, 100% transparency, right? Like, I have health issues. I have dental issues. There's things that I need to get done in my life. My car is a 2011. It's nothing fancy. It's a Maxima. I love it. It's a great car. It's actually one of the cars I really wanted when it was brand new at the time, when it was brand new. So I'm talking like 2010, 2011, when that car first came out. That's a car I always wanted. I ended up getting it until like 2016 or something. So I've had it for a while now. But still, there's things I need in life. There's things I need to get done. There's things I need to fix, much like everyone else. Like, I'm not talking like I'm the only one, right? Like, I understand that. And I completely understand there's people in the world that have a lot worse going on than I do. I don't ever want to make it seem like I have it worse than anyone else. This is not a pity thing. I'm just trying to explain where I've been, both physically and mentally, over the past year. Because I went disappearing off of Spotify, and I've had people listen to that show, and I thank you for supporting it, because it's not a show or a YouTube channel that has a lot of subscribers. It's not a channel that has a lot of followers. It's not. I would like it to be. That is my goal. That always has been my goal. But to do that, you got to be consistent, and I haven't been. We've taken several breaks from the Spotify show, never as long as it's been now. And I'm telling you, there has been times where I've walked into this room and I see the equipment and I'm like, I need to start recording again. I got to do it tomorrow, or I got to start it next week. And I'm going to be honest, there were a few times where I came this close. Like, I even thought about it around Thanksgiving or Christmas. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And you know what takes over was the depression, because it gave me the no motivation to do anything at all. I've never understood depression until most recently. Depression really is something that just boggles down on you. It really takes you out of the race. And you can try to not let that happen, but it takes over. I've been in horrible moods, man. Like, I've had a short fuse. I'm irritable. Like, I'm not happy with life, And I remember saying that, and one of my friends was like, you just got engaged. Yes, I did. And it's to a very wonderful person. I can't even say it. It's to a very wonderful person. I don't deserve to hear her. I really don't. Because there's things that she's said and she's done for me, to me, that a lot of it I'm not going to say on here because I don't want to put all of our business out there. But she's helped me. And she still does, and it's, for someone to do that when they're not married to you, you have to marry that person. Are you kidding me? She knows all my baggage. I know hers. That's just part of the relationship. right? I mean, we both have our things that we need to work on, that we need to fix. As far as in life stuff, finances, credit cards, whatever it may be. We all have our stuff. But to be with somebody, and she is the most supportive person I've ever met in my entire life, outside of family. I've never met anybody like her before. And for her to me knowing her situation financially and all the stuff she needs to do and got going on, everything like that, for her to still find a way to help me when I needed it, when I was unemployed, I could never pay her back. And for her to do that when we're not even married. People talk about when you're married, it becomes a joint partnership, and until then you're not exactly technically, married or complete or a union or whatever. But it's with her, not even hesitation. Wasn't even hesitation. Tell you what, I'm going to be right back. Give me a minute, because for some reason, when I bought this camera, for Spotify, this doesn't matter. But for YouTube, this camera, I actually went to go buy this thing. I did research on this thing. I talked to the person in the store and I was like, hey, I want to be filming things like podcasts. They're going to be like hour long, 40 minutes long, whatever. Can this camera do that? It's a great camera. And the representative, not even a person that works in the store. It's one of those people that come in for their line of products. I forget, the salesman or whatever. But in store, they're like, yeah, this camera will do it. This freaking camera turns off or stops recording after 29 minutes. So you have to go and keep restarting it. How stupid is that? Just another thing I got freaking didn't work out for me. So give me a minute here. I'm gonna restart this camera real quick. All right. I probably could go ahead and not even say that and just fix it in editing, but it'll look choppy on YouTube probably. It just cuts to me talking again. Yeah, so last year I got I guess I got diagnosed with a skin issue, like a skin I don't want to say I guess it is a skin disease or skin condition. I think is fair, because it's not a fatal type thing. It's not really going to harm me. It's just more for aesthetically, like the way it looks, appearance wise. It's a vitiligo. I'm not sure how many people know about it, but it's that kind of condition. I'm sure you've seen it. It's where people have patches of white on their skin. It's more noticeable on people with darker skin, obviously. For me, I have it, and I noticed it like on my thigh, my inner thigh one day, and it alarmed me because it came out of nowhere, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I ended up going to see a dermatologist after 3 months of finding it, because they were booked for 3 months or whatever. That was the earliest I could see them. Yeah, and it was what I thought it was going to be, because I did some research on it. Vitiligo, something that it can be, you can never cure it, but it's treatable. So right now I'm using some kind of ointment to try to regain pigmentation back on the spots that I have my white patches or whatever. So been dealing with that, and of course that added to my depression, because I've found it to be in spots where people I'm close to could see, and that makes me what's the my confidence is low, my self-esteem took a hit. It just has not been a great calendar year. And on top of it, at the end of 2023, I lost an uncle. And it was an uncle that I've gotten to see a lot more recently. He and my aunt, and I say aunt because I'm from New England. My aunt and my uncle were living in Florida for most of my life, I would say. When I was a kid, they lived back up where I was, close by, and then everybody kind of moved. A lot of my family moved to Florida, them being one of them. And for some reason, when I moved to Carolina, I started to see them a little more often. They've made trips up here. I know we went down there a couple times. And And then they ended up moving to Tennessee recently, a few years ago. And then I got to see them more often because Tennessee, a drive to Tennessee is like 3 or 4 hours from where I'm at right now in Carolina. So I've always really loved this uncle. I love all my uncles and I love all my family. But something about him, I mean, there are some people that I could just listen to tell a story or talk for hours. He's one of them. And he's one of the very few. Like, I have him and maybe another uncle that I could just listen to. Like, I could, and when you're a kid, and I'm glad I'm bringing this up because I wanted to mention this to my family. When you're a kid, right, you don't really care about the adults. You don't. I wanted to play with my cousins. I wanted to play with my brother and sister. All the cousins, we had a pretty big family. You know, the cousins, we get together, holidays, whatever, we'd go play in the basement or outside or wherever. And you don't really hang around the adults. You don't really listen to the adult conversations. One, you won't understand it. Two, it's probably going to be boring to you as a kid. You just want to play. And so you take it for granted, you know? And then when you get older, when I got older, I've learned to really appreciate being around family and being around the adults, you know, that were older than me when I was a kid. You know, makes sense in my head. And just being able to talk to them and hear their stories, you know, you just see at some point, just seeing like my dad sitting around the table with his sisters or his brother, you know, his cousins, and you're just watching it. You're just kind of like, damn, that's cool. You know, I didn't care about that as a kid, but now it's cool. And this uncle, anytime they would visit, you know, I would make it a point to just sit there and listen to him. He had some great stories too. He was an older guy, you know, he's had a life to live. He's had a life of things to share story-wise. And it crushed me because I remember when he met T, just like last year, 2 years ago, he automatically like fell in love with her. Like he loved T, and super happy to see her, always welcoming, hugs, you know, telling her, he would always tell me and her, oh, you know, just to get on with her already. I mean, just get married already. And he was happy. Like he wanted to see us get married. And sure enough, a month after I proposed to her, he passes away. I'm not going to lie. That really crushed me and Tahira pretty badly. One, obviously, losing somebody like that sucks. And I feel like my family has lost quite a few. Everybody's important, but anchors in the family. We've lost quite a few anchors in the family recently. And I say recently over the span of maybe 10, 15 years, which doesn't sound like that's recent, but the way years fly by, I feel like I just lost a couple other family members like yesterday, even though it happened maybe 10 years ago. So that sucked. And then from a selfish standpoint, and I told my aunt this because she came to visit shortly after he passed away. Selfishly, me and T were hurt that he wasn't going to be able to make it to our wedding, because I remember T and I were trying to come up with a list, and still the list is not done yet, of people we want to invite. And my aunt and uncle were one of the first people I mentioned. I'm like, they got to go. They got to come to that, because they've been wanting to see us get on with it for a couple years now, or at least a year. And it sucks that he's not going to be there. And I'm still unhappy about it. But, you know, if any of my family hears or sees this, just know that I know we all moved away. We all not as close as we used to be, but I still love every single one of you. Every single one. And I miss all of you guys, and I miss all of us hanging out, talking. You know, I talk to a few here and there. But, you know, it's hard to keep in touch with literally everybody. You know, life happens. Get busy. I don't even talk to my closest family sometimes. I don't even talk to my dad every day. You know, it's just stuff happens. But if any of you ever need to reach out for anything, just to talk, to vent, to check in, to tell me something new about you, feel free, man. Don't hesitate, because I'm tired of losing family members, to be honest. It's rough. I know it's a circle of life type thing, but it doesn't get easier. I guess I could maybe wrap this up, I think. The plan for this podcast going forward. And if you've listened this far, I appreciate it, and I really do. I really do. I'm glad you listened to this. All of these podcasts are all not going to be the same. You know, I've heard people say, no, you got to find your niche and you got to stick with it. I feel like I got a lot more to offer than just talk about sports or just talk about one thing. I want to keep this open, you know? There's going to be episodes where I'm venting. There's going to be episodes where I'm talking about my life. There's going to be episodes where I talk about sports or wrestling or something happening in pop culture or something. This probably won't be a political podcast, so if you're looking for that, it's probably not the place for you. Still would love to have you, but we're probably not going to talk politics much here at all. I just don't like politics. I don't like the news. I stay away from it. I like things that make me happy, things that I enjoy, and I'm probably going to stick to those types of things. So at this recording, it's Thursday. What day? The 18th of January, 24. I'm probably going to release it on the 22nd. So next week. And from there, you know, I've learned, especially with the whole broadcasting thing, you can't control. There's things you can't control. There's things that are going to be out of your control. You can only control what you can control. And I can't control not being able to get opportunities or good ones for broadcasting. LinkedIn is a professional website, and it's something I've used a lot the past few years especially. I've built my resume up, my experience, all that kind of stuff. I've networked on there. I've reached out to people. I'm talking like years worth of emailing people, messaging people, reaching out, commenting, just everything. And I'm getting nothing. I've talked to recruiters. I've talked to so many people. And I either don't get an answer, or I get ghosted, or they sound, hey, yeah, I can help you. And then I just never hear from them. It's just, something has to change in my life, because I don't like the way it is right now. And I'm going to try to change things. I'm not one of those people that just sit back. Yes, I complain. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, I'm depressed about some stuff. But I'm not somebody who's just saying these things where I'm depressed or whatever and not doing anything about it. I'm actually trying, and I've been trying my ass off to change things, and it just hasn't been happening. So I'm going to control what I can control. I can't control who hires me. I can't control who gives me a chance. LinkedIn has been a toxic website or app for me, and it's not supposed to be, but it has been for me, because I see all these people getting their chances, getting their opportunities, and although I am very happy for them, I'm just very upset that I can't get any. And I wonder why, I wonder why. Because I have experience, I have people vouch for me. I have people put me in touch with other people, and I just don't know why. Is it because I didn't go to a 4-year school and I didn't graduate at, 21, 22? Is that why? Is it because I'm like 30 now and nobody wants to give a 30-year-old a chance or a 34-year-old a chance? I don't get it. But even that has depressed me. So I'm going to control what I can control, which I can control this podcast. I can control making videos. So I'm going to try to control that. I'm going to try to post more often. And honestly, I've posted a lot on my TikTok recently. I've actually grown that audience pretty substantially. And it's not a lot of videos of me specifically. I've done a few, but I've done some funny meme-ish type videos, which always gets a good reaction. And I've actually grown the YouTube channel a little bit too, which is cool. But that's with me not really posting videos. It's been posting like shorts and stuff. So I am going to try to focus more on posting more. I know I've mentioned it before in this podcast that I'm going to, and then I would fall off. So I'm going to try to stick with it here. I can control it. I'm going to be honest with you guys, setting this shit up is a bitch sometimes. Like, it's not as easy as everybody thinks. It's not, hey, you're just hitting a button on a camera and recording. It's not that. It's not just that. I guarantee, I promise you it's not just that. I'm setting up everything. Lights, microphones, checking sound, camera, and then the editing afterwards, which can be tedious, to put it nicely. So it's not as simple as it all seems. And with everything on my plate right now, working multiple jobs because I am, planning for a wedding because we are, planning for a honeymoon because we are, searching for somewhere to live because our lease is up pretty soon. So I got a lot going on right now. And I'm in a transitional phase of trying to find different jobs and opportunities and a career path, going to school for something else. I think I'm on to something, though. I might have something soon, but it's not officially set yet. So, I appreciate everybody listening and watching. You getting the word out, you being supportive is great. Everybody that reached out asking when it's going to happen or when I'm going to post more, I appreciate you for listening. I don't ask anything from anybody. I hate asking anything from anybody, which is one of my struggles. It's something I'm not happy to do. I've had help from family. I've had help from T, and it's begrudgingly. It's like they force me to take the help. It's a problem, but it's how I am. But I will ask this of you. All I ask is that you, if you're on Spotify, you rate the show, that you follow the show. If you're on YouTube, I ask that you like the channel or follow the channel, like the video, maybe share it, subscribe, all that cool stuff. Share it with people you know. Hey, if you want to listen to this guy, I'm telling you right now, some of these episodes might not be for everybody. I'm not going to have an episode that's for everybody. I'm going to talk about life stuff, my stuff, if you want to hear it. I'm going to talk about sports stuff, wrestling, because I love pro wrestling. Always have it since I was a kid. So not every episode's going to be the same thing, but I do appreciate you listening to the ones that you are interested in. And if you know other people who like the things that I have on the other episodes, maybe you can share that with them. So I guess that's about it for now. Everything I could think of. I'm telling you, it took everything with me to do this video. It has not been easy. Life and everything. So, appreciate you listening. Appreciate you watching. There will be more. I can promise you that. I will control that part of it. Until next time, I'm going to say stay bitter because I used to say it all the time. I miss saying it. Stay bitter.